Okay, so this week I'm going to show you just a little bit about Lightroom. Now, the great thing about Lightroom is that I think the layout of it is a lot easier for editing pictures than Photoshop is. Everything you can do in Lightroom, you can do in Photoshop, and vice versa. This is just another great tool when you actually want to edit your pictures that you can use. So as we progress throughout the semester, we're going to use both. You'll kind of get a feel for which you prefer and which you like doing better. But I'm going to go ahead and show you this as we're coming back from spring break this week. So the very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open Lightroom Classic CC. The reason I picked this over the cloud-based one is that we still have more of a link to the physical desktop. Things are kind of grounded a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and open it. And the very first thing that's going to happen is it's going to pop up and I'm going to have to add things to my library. So I have some pictures in here. This is going to look empty for you the very first time you open it. You can see that you can, on the left here, you can make folders. You can organize your pictures as you wish, but before I even get into that, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the very first thing to import my pictures. So on the left here, there's a little button that says import. And I'm gonna go ahead and it'll pull up my actual hard drive. I'm gonna have to locate my pictures first, so this might take just a second. I know I have to go to document, so I'm clicking these little caret icons to actually locate my files. Then I'm going to scroll down. Again, you can see I'm lots of lots of folders here. You guys are photo online. And I have just a couple pictures in animals that I'll pull in. Now, because there's a check mark, that means it is importing it. If I do not want to import an image into my library, I just have to unclick it. So if it is check marked, that means it's coming along for the ride. You can see if I had a lot of pictures, I can check all or I can uncheck all right at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead. So I've gone ahead and I've clicked that bottom right import button. We just, again, are taken to this image right here. So I have two images that have actually been uploaded. Say I want to make a folder. So you can see that I organize a lot of the time my collections. I'm going to go ahead and hit that plus button. If I want to create a collection, I can just say this is going to be my animals demo. Name it. It says include selected photos. I'm going to hit create. Well, only one appears because when I had that, when I was using that, only one particular image was selected. So say I want to go under, I know they're under animals, I can select the other picture. This is from a South Dakota trip. Drag it to that folder. You can see it's highlighted and then I hit OK. Well, I don't hit OK, but I just drag and drop it and both are now in this folder. If you look to the right, there's a lot of really useful information. So on my metadata, I can actually change the name of the file here. If I want to change it to grass, greener, buffalo, whatever. Now that's been changed. If I want to rate it, I can give it a rating. But this is where it's giving me some really useful information about the dimensions of the picture, the exposure length. You can see 1/60th second at f-stop 8, 55 millimeter focal length, and my ISO is at 100. This particular image was actually taken really far away. We were in Custer State Park, and you could not actually get close to the buffalo. Again, these are taken with standard kit lens. You will notice if you are using a telephoto lens, you are going to get better pictures than you would with a standard lens. It's just better equipment for this particular type of assignment. The same thing happens if I click on my other image. I can find out all that useful file information. So make sure you take a look at that. You can kind of peruse through. The other thing with the keywords, I can actually give it written titles. So we could say cat. What this is doing is that every time I type in a word, it's attaching it to the image so that eventually when I had hundreds of pictures, I could easily find them through my computer by searching for one of those keywords. It's another way to organize things. Let's go ahead and explore that develop tab. So I'm going to click develop. you can see this image again. We could not get close. It's a little on the overexposed side. And you can see that by looking at this histogram. So one thing that I really, really like about Lightroom is that it gives you a histogram that you can actually look at that's going to help you out with your editing. If you notice, typically when all of your peaks of your histogram are to the right, your picture is either overexposed or it's actually a high key image, meaning that all of my values are really light. There's a lot of whites. It's really bright. So that's usually one of two options why it's all the way over there. If I slide all the way to the left, there we go. This would be an example of an underexposed picture. All my values are to the left. It's really dark. I want to try and get that histogram to be somewhere in the middle. Right now, if I can try and grab my exposure wedge, I'm going to try and drag it about halfway. And this is not a universal truth. I'm going to go a little bit brighter, just a little bit. And it's giving me a much more balanced picture right off the bat. So histograms are useful in that way. And you can see each particular layer has an actual different section you can drag and drop. So highlights, I can move those to the left a little bit if I feel like my picture needs to be brightened up. I can move them to the right. And you can see what you'll notice is as you actually move the histogram, down here, these individual toolbars are moving. So if I'm having difficulty locating on my histogram, I can move this little bar that says highlights down here. So again, you can drag and drop up here, or you can also look at, say, the shadows. I can move this over, and I'm actually going to make this, we don't want to get that dark, but I can drag and drop. So, and exposure's here, contrast is here. Maybe I'll up the let's decrease it just a little bit. If I up it, it's too dark. So right off the bat, brightness, contrast, highlight, shadows, and then whites and blacks you can also adjust. And you'll see if it gets red, that means the computer is actually like washing it out and it's having trouble recognizing those pixels. You don't want to have those show up. So if like when you go to actually save the file, see those blue parts, that means it's so dark that the computer is actually having problems detecting those pixels. So it'll still save as an image, but it's best to minimize that. You can also, jumping up just a second, change the temperature and the tint of the picture. So I can adjust it if I want it to be warmer or if I want it to be cooler. I actually was pretty happy with the actual temperature of the image. And then I can also do the same thing with tint. So if you want to change it up, be funky, that's another option. There's a lot of information here. I'm not going to go through every single thing because this is a lot. We're going to work our way through a couple other fun kind of effects and different editing you can do. And we'll do that, some of it next week. I'm going to show you one more thing this week. And then, well, I'll show you how to crop it. And then I'm going to show you what this part down here means. This HSL/color. It's a really nice feature. So let's start there and then we'll crop it and then we're gonna pause with Lightroom for this week. So I'm gonna let you take just a second to pause this and kind of review anything you need to, and then I will start this next video.